We are starting the stream. Good morning, Empath Nation Shift Crew. Welcome to the Obsidian Blade Medicine Hour. I am so glad you're here in these tumultuous times of personal transformation as the phoenix, known as you, is rising up from the ashes. And wow, we have quite the birth process going on this week, and it's been going on for weeks, if not, of course, years, leading up to this point where we're all on a path. We're all on a path. Are you making choices? And I'm confronted by this week. Are we making choices that are aligned with our path, and aligned with our true happiness? We need to know what is going to serve us, not just today. You may be hungry, right? And you have the choice of what you're going to put in your mouth, right? You like I did last night. I was hungry and I ate a burrito and then I gained 4 pounds, probably from like too much sodium and water retention. I can't believe that I gained 4 pounds from eating a burrito, but the burrito was more of an emotional choice and not really a health choice, right? I was tired. I didn't really want to cook anymore. I hadn't eaten that in a long time. And so I have to ask you, what are the burritos? What are the psychic burritos in your life right now that are really not serving your longer term vision, right? So when we look at psychic burritos or psychic food that's tasty in the moment, but not really healthy for us in the long run, then we've got to do some inventory, right? And look, you're a human being. You have needs. You have desires, and we are definitely meant to live those desires in the real world, both from the personal desires that we have, so say career or great relationships or more wealth or more health, but also how and what we desire for humanity at large and how we can be the shift that we're seeking. But right now there are those, sets of choices that don't really serve us in the long term. And what are those choices that will serve us in the long term? So I'm looking at that myself. And I just want to, again, how I kicked this episode off, like, are you feeling weird yet? Because you should be. And why do I say that? Because the astrology is off the charts. I was just watching an episode with the Leo King, and he showed an image of what the charts look like right now. And it's like everything's lit up. Like, if you can imagine, like, I don't know, like, basically the chart looks right now, like, imagine like a 28 pointed star. That's how crazy the astrology is right now. Like, everything's going bing bong bing bong bing bong bing in a massive retrograde area of our collective psyche and our individual psyche. And we're having to make choices. We're having to make some serious choices of what's going to serve us in regards to our true path, our true purpose in your life. What do you need to choose to be in alignment with that? And part of choice is also not choosing things. So who are you not going to choose anymore, both within yourself and both outside of you? Who are the people who are not making the cut? Because it's time to cut. Hey, welcome to the Obsidian Blade. We do a lot of cutting around here, not in the weird way, but in the good way, because the basic facts of manifesting the life you want is this. If there's no room for the new to arrive, it's not going to arrive. It'll have no home to nest within, right? Our responsibility, our half of the bargain, when we work with the universe and we work with the natural forces of the earth, our half of the bargain is to make space. Okay? You live in space, by the way, and we make space. We're space creatures, literally and energetically. You live on a planet that's in space. Welcome. You're a space creature. And you are energetically on the dimensional realms, a space creature. But if your space is packed, like almost like to the point where it's impacted, right? There's no flow, right? There's stagnant energy because you're holding on to parts of your psyche that don't work anymore for what you want. Or you're holding on to people, places, things that are not giving you what you want. They're dragging you down. And, in my own life, I had a situation yesterday and I was like, you know what? This is the point where I cut this person out. This is the point where I'm like, it's not serving me to hold on to this particular person because I want new things in my life. And this person doesn't represent or honor or support me in those new ways. So I could have a conversation, but I know them pretty well. They're not really the conversation type. So they're getting cut. And that could sound harsh, but look, this is really about us making some hard choices right now. It's really in your face. And I just want to hear from you. Like, do you see those hard choices that you're needing to make, not for the short term, but for the really, really big long term? Like, when you choose to walk the path of your heart most authentically, what do you need to cut? And when you're asking for new things in your life, what do you need to flush away and get rid of so that there's actual psychic space, energetic space for the newness to arrive? And I noticed in my own meditation, even this morning, after committing to cutting this one person out, when I do this meditation that I'm training people, I'm giving a free training, and I'm diving in deeper onto this on how to find energy blockages and sensations in the body through a shamanic meditation and cut them. So that's actually happening in the private Facebook group called the Shift Crew, the HQ for your breakthrough. So the link to that is in my bio or will be in the underneath this YouTube video. But, going in to make like more dramatic cuts. Like we hear government talk about budget cuts, we have to look at what we're spending our personal power, our personal energy, what we're spending our love on, and going like, hey, what's the return here? And if there's no return on investment, then things are getting cut, and the parallel to this, the reflection, because we're all connected, is that the people you're cutting out of your life is also the parts of your personality that allowed those people to exist in the first place, right? So the people you cut from your life is also the commitment to the personality who you've been staying true to in your insides, in your psyche. And that can be hard. It can be so hard to make new choices, because especially new choices that are the best for you in your long-term vision of who you are and what you need. Because the hardest part about new choices is that they're new choices. And it's hard to make new choices because you've never experienced them before. And so you don't know, like, how do I even choose something new when I don't know what new is, but I need new, right? So I want to ask you, like, do you need new? Do you need some new choices? And how do you have the faith to be like, I don't even know what that new looks like, but I know I need it? And so how do we find resonance within our body to, like, okay, did I choose new? I don't even know, because I don't even know what new is. no new is. It's like new is going to be uncomfortable in some ways. New is going to be weird, right? Like when you go to a foreign country that you've never been to, Yes, there's human beings there and buildings and cars, but it's still different, right? There's different habits and rituals and customs. So it takes time. It takes a few days to acclimatize, to get used to being in this somewhat familiar environment, because it's a human environment, but there's new codes, there's new ethics, there's new ways of doing things. And that's the point of transition that we're at right now. You're going to need to make harder choices in your life right now in regards to what is correct for you in your long-term vision of your life. But making those new choices are going to be difficult because you've got two factors. You've got to cut what's no longer serving you, the old psyches, the old people, the situations, the power games, the power plays. You got to cut those things to make space, and you've got to call forth the new. But like I'm just saying, calling forth the new is going to be hard. It's a hard process because new is not familiar. And so you can see why it's so important to not call forth the familiar, because the familiar is the old. It's the comfortable. And if you want radical change that supports your true future path, your path with a heart, then you're going to have to call forth energies that supports you on your path that you may be unfamiliar with, and it's going to be uncomfortable and weird at first, but those new energies are there to support your best, your highest love. So we've got two parts of our responsibility to handle there. And I'm feeling it, like I said, in my meditation this morning, Keisa Hughes, I'm making radical cuts, radical budget cuts, radical energy budget cuts inside my psyche of like, I can't go there anymore. I can't continue to choose something that's not serving me. I can't continue to be the old person who continues to choose that thing that's no longer serving me. And it's really a discovery of self-worth. I mean, our self-worth is right in our faces these days, right? The self-worth that you agree to is going to be exactly what you get on the outside. And if your self-worth has been choosing not ideal things, then you've got to put your own self up for a review and confront. This is the word, confront. You need to confront. I'm confronting myself right now heavily. Yeah, pruning. I am confronting myself so heavily right now in a good way, right? We can be harsh to ourselves in a bad way sometimes. We can be cruel to ourselves in a bad way. I was saying to a friend last night, I have this funny relationship with like vitamins and supplements sometimes. I told her sometimes taking a supplement is an act of cruelty against yourself. Because the reason why you're taking the supplement, the vitamin, is because you feel that you should be better or that you should be getting more stuff done, right? And you're not being kind to yourself. So you're aggressively taking supplements to get more done because you believe you're not doing it correctly. And it's funny, like taking vitamins can be an act of violence against the self when they're taken in that regard. It's funny, but it's true. It's true. But we are needing at this moment to confront what we've chosen. We've got to confront what we've chosen in regards to our true happiness and our ultimate reason for being here. And again, how diving in and examining, hey, old familiar choices may seem comfortable, but that comfortability is coming at a price. And we are needing to resist choosing short-term choices, and really pushing past our comfortability to break through our own ceiling. And I could just feel myself having a very healthy but aggressive liquidation sale of things I am attaching myself to. And, again, I'm always, in your corner about this. Again, I was just saying, like, being in that balance of doing this aggressively, but not violently to the self, right? Don't punish yourself and don't put yourself into a dangerous position when you're doing the pruning. But sometimes you got to get in there and you got to put some real elbow grease. You got to really break a sweat in cutting out the shit that no longer serves you or humanity, as we like to say. Psychic surgery can require some heavy lifting. And that's good because you're doing the heavy lifting in like commitment to who you really are. You're getting in there and working hard as a act of love and commitment to who you really are. How we do that, for me, it's shamanic meditation where I go in, like I always say, after, setting up good posture and good, you've settled into your center space and your breathing space. You're going in and you're finding like where you're confronted, and typically where you're confronted equals some sort of muscular tension in the body. For me, it's a lot around the eyes, because remember, there's that connection that when you think, the body is the servant to what you think. So when you think, if you're in that quiet space where you can truly observe yourself, when you think a thought, you will notice always that there is a muscle or set of muscles, or even a full posture. Your body will shift to your thinking, and it will hold that thought as a posture or a particular raising of a muscle or an intensity around the eyes, or maybe like, you kind of move your face in a way to the thought. Your body lets you know when you're thinking because it moves in response to your thinking. So when we examine the thoughts that are holding us back, we not only prune the thoughts, but we prune the muscular tension in the body that is connected to that thinking. And so that's how you can get a feel, literally, that's how you get a feel for what you're thinking, because the body allows you to feel the quality of your thinking. So tuning into the body is key in this process, because the body is making your thoughts tangible. It's making you be able to feel your own thinking. That's the relationship we have with the body. And it's interesting, just on another level to what we've chosen, right? That what we've chosen has brought us to this point. So what we have chosen in our life could be seen as a particular karma that we have, or a particular contract or a life lesson that we desired to experience. And now we're at this point. And that's where we can say, I'm canceling the contract. I got the lesson. I got the growth. I got the experience. I got the expansion. And now I'm canceling the contract because I'm good. I don't need to put this contract experience on repeat anymore because it's just past its due date. It's just past its due date. And so for my own self, I'm looking at things like, hey, where's that good relationship I'm seeking? And where in my own contracts of what's possible am I holding myself back in that regard? And so I'm making the cut of those contracts and going like, I don't, like I was saying earlier, new is new. So we don't always know what new feels like, but we can commit to making the space for new to arrive. And to realize that new is coming And new will feel new and unfamiliar at the same time. New is going to feel exciting and unfamiliar at the same time. But you will acclimatize to it. You will get used to it. It'll become second nature after a few days. But to, I guess, kind of get back into the thrilling aspect of being in the driver's seat of your own life. Have that psychic liquidation sale and be thrilled that you are calling in what's new and you're starting to envision it and then get the feelings of what it would be like. But the critical thing that you hear many times in any sort of manifestation technique or development, especially now, we have got to let go of what we think it's going to look like, because new really has to be new this time. We have to let go of what we think it's going to look like, the structure, the form, and just get centered on the feeling of what it would be like to be the person we really want to be, have the certain social structure or partnership that we want in our life, have the creative expression, have the community that we want and desire. But we've got to let go of the packaging and the format, because when we hold on to the old packaging and the old format of the way it was, you're then still connected to the old. You're still connected to the psychology that called forth all those old structures that you're now ending the contracts with. And so we've got to get into the thrill of the new, the thrill of our power as manifestors and creators, and the thrill of truly arriving at somewhere new, not for the sake of just newness, but for the sake that this newness is going to anchor and support and drive us forward on the truth of our path that we know we must actualize rather sooner than later. Sooner than later, we're choosing our path right now. And, look, the people we've had in our life, from say, a jerk that you experienced yesterday, maybe on the road, to the most deepest connections of intimacy that we've had in our life so far, all of those people, that full range, have been our hard teachers. Our hard teachers really reflecting back to us as accurate mirrors what we have settled as our description of reality and what we have settled to as what we deserve in our life. Our hard teachers have mirrored back what we've settled for and what we think we deserve. And it's really time to think different. It's really time to think different. And, letting go of how you thought it should be, as defined by that old ego, by that old self that was formed in compromise, or especially formed in a paradigm where we allowed or we accepted this idea that other people know better than us. Really leaving behind the paradigm of where we were living in a world where we agreed that other people knew better than us. Who knows what's best for you? That's the question of the day. Who knows what's best for you? Does anybody have an answer? It's you, right? Of course. Of course it's you, but why don't we believe that? Do you really think it's you? If you don't think it's you, then that's where the work begins, right? And we all have layers of giving up our power. We all have layers of where we gave our power away to a partner or a society or a government or a situation or a social group or a family member, where we gave away our power and said, okay, you know better than me. You know better than me. But nobody knows better than you what you need, Rainbow Ruckus. Nobody knows what you actually need better than you. And the you I'm hoping for in me and the you I'm hoping for in you is the you that is really letting go of all commitment to limitation and say an addiction to how you think it should be, when the universe really just wants you now to cleanse your space, to make space in your energy field by flushing out the old, to just make the space for the new to arrive. And if we really get into that space, I think our minds might really be blown away with how creative and funny and unique and diverse the universe is really wanting to show up in our life. Like, the universe wants to do two things. It wants to give you what you want, and it wants to do it in its way. So you kind of, it's a win-win situation in a good relationship with the universe, right? The universe is going to give you what you want. So you're going to be like, oh, I got what I want in every department. I got what I want. And the universe is stoked because the universe got to do it in its, like I said, funny, unique, diverse, intuitive, ingenious way where it's going to get delight out of becoming what you want. The universe, you got to consider the universe's feelings here, right? Because you are the universe, by the way. Trick question. Can anybody tell me where the universe is, by the way? Does anybody know where the universe is? Because if you think it's somewhere else other than where you are, you might be mistaken. So we can take our finger and point to anything in the room or anything in the world, and we can say, that's the universe. Yeah, right here, right here. The universe is right here. This is the universe in action, doing what it loves to do. And the universe is a system of relationships that are all interconnected. The universe is a system of multidimensional relationships. And so we need to call forth what's most true to our path with the heart. But we've got to allow the universe to do it the way it would get joy out of doing it, right? Can we allow the universe some joy? Can we allow the universe some part of the creativity and how what you desire is going to show up and what form it's going to look like and when it happens, right? So because always we do our best, right, to anchor the now of what we want. We live in the now of what we want. But yeah, living in the now is the really key part to this, and honoring that you have this thing called a mind. I've talked about this before. Did you know you have a mind? And that there's no limit on this mind. And just because you haven't thought of something doesn't mean you can't think about something. And again, when we're talking about calling forth and manifesting things that are really going to be what we want, but we're at this stage where we're needing to call forth the things that we want in a way that is really letting go of how we think they should look like. Yes, they're going to be what we want, and yes, they're going to support. It's going to support us in regards to our long-term vision of our path. But can we draw in newness? And that's a funny place that we go to, that we have to experiment with in our meditations when we get deep into our own mind and we're like starting to envision the life that we desire and the scenarios and the people and the relationships. Really doing our best to open ourselves up to infinite diversity. Really opening up ourselves to being surprised and ignited by a new way of doing things that we never thought could be done before. But that's the whole point. Like, how much can you entertain doing it different than you ever been done before to get what you want? Right? I'm not asking you to entertain things that you've never done before to be hard on yourself or to make it more difficult. I'm talking about like ease and grace and flow, but in ingenious, effortless ways that you've never contemplated before. That's the challenge before us. To know what we want, cleanse the space in your life so that there's room for it to arrive, and then to take inspired action as you're divinely guided in a way you've never done it before. That's a really new bar to give ourselves. Yes, new OS, new operating systems. And I think that's what's up, because again, look, if you keep doing it the way you've always done it, what do you get? You get the same thing. And that's the point that we're at, where we're all sick of getting the same thing, yet we want different. So this is a really interesting challenge to get with. Again, I was making that analogy. New is like going to a foreign country. It's going to be sort of familiar. You got the basics down, right? Everyone has like two hands and a mouth, and they use they speak and they look at things, but there's new customs, there's new flows, there's new ways things are done, and you will adapt to them. Little Hawk Midnight, is materialism dead? Yes. Well, that's kind of a funny. It's right there in the words, right? Living in a dead relationship. That's okay. Let me go in that. That is what's up, is where, part of that transition, definitely that paradigm shift, that when we talk about New Earth, is that treating the Earth as a dead object to cut up as we please with no repercussions. That relationship is definitely ending soon, because it's just, as we know, it's unsustainable. Be it you see it from the spiritual angle or even just the material plane level, you can't keep cutting up your environment and expect it to nurture you. That game is quickly going to unravel at a very rapid rate, and that's part of the scary part of the shift, right? When whole environmental systems collapse, what do we do then? And how do we shift then? That's going to be a very intense situation, and I hear people talk about it. We are going to, I joke about it, but it's kind of true. There will be people who are going to die because they don't have access to Pepsi or Coca-Cola, because their whole genetic infrastructure is hardwired for that chemical addiction to hot dogs and Coca-Cola. And when there's no more hot dogs and Coca-Cola, there is a certain segment of society that has no mental backbone to make the chemical shift away from hot dogs and Coca-Cola. So unfortunately, that a few people will die because of that when the shift happens. But we have to look at, hey, also in our own lives, what's some bullshit that you're addicted to right now? Typically, when we're doing energy work, it's not so much chemistry, but it can be. Like, I know some of you have really kicked the devil of alcoholism, right? That is like major work of that chemical addiction to alcohol. But what else, as far as, your personality, are you still not confronting in the kind of necessary leadership and parental way within yourself? Be like, no, it's time to clean up my room. It's time to be like, fuck that. I'm worth something. I'm worth the relationship I'm seeking. I'm worth the path that I know I'm supposed to walk. And I'm going to I'm going to cut all forms of weaknesses. I'm going to just cut the weaknesses. I'm going to cut it out. And I'm going to get on with walking the path strong. And that's where we're at now. This is choose or lose. This is like the ultimate, TV game show. It's called Choose or Lose. And working within your karmic jurisdiction. I mean, definitely, right? I mean, always we can think about the problems of the world, and there are quite a few of them. And unfortunately, a lot of the problems of the current old world are brought about by greed and those in control of old empires that are just not willing to let go. And there's a lot of human suffering brought about by that. But we have to be the change we're seeking. And part of that change is really realizing that there is a new economic energy model where you don't have to hoard and you don't have to protect and defend to get yours, that there is enough for everyone to go around. And Matt, you know what? It's really time to be with people who fucking get you. And to ask that question, hey, do I even get me? Do I even honor me? Do I even like me? Do I even like me? Do you even like you? And if you don't, and if I don't, then that's where we've got to begin to be like, wait a second. This heavy trip, like this is what I'm always working on. Like this heavy trip of I've got to do things to be likable has got to be let go of, and just live from that space of actually I don't need to do anything but exist. As long as I'm not causing harm, then I'm a great person, and as long as I'm helping and participating where I know I really can make that change, then I'm a good person. And all this other heavy trip of like, am I doing enough? Am I being smart enough, funny enough, sexy enough? Did I diet enough? Did I work out enough? Like all these like really heavy things. Like, how about we just start really exercising some supreme levels of self-acceptance and self-love? It's definitely where I'm working with it, supreme levels of self-acceptance and self-love. Just be like, wow, this heavy overcompensation game is a drain. It's really a drain. It's where we're losing energy over it, both in society and on the individual level. And, also society at large is needing a transformation. We do need to establish a new bar, a new level of like, hey, going out and drinking and watching a ton of sports on the TV is like, what the fuck is that? That's our best potential. Drinking alcohol and watching sports on TV. Do you know how many millions of people do that? Do you know how many millions of source incarnate come here to just fucking make that their life? Like, that's the best we can do. That's what we've been sold our pure potential is. And, humanity is hitting this ceiling of like, hey, there's certain people who have all the money in the world and they don't even know what to do. Like they've hit this ceiling because the definition of what's possible has been obscured. And so what's possible is walking that path with a heart where we really tune into nature and we start to make nature our ally, because nature is source made manifest. I used to like to say, nature is the language of God uninterrupted. It's pure speech from source. It's pure unaltered speech made manifest from source. Pure harmonic vibrations of intention from seed to sprout to tree, It's pure vibration, pure vibration. And that nature, when we return to it, when we return to nature and we return to our nature, we return to a support system that's there for you, and to recognize that this is the time to make new choices in your life and feel supported in those new choices. So find that courage to make new choices within you, to support yourself, but also go to the nature and call forth the support from nature to prop you up as you get new habits rolling in the direction of what's truly best for your path right now. And again, cut out those things that are really no longer serving you, which is old relationships, people, places, things, habits that are really an agreement, habits that are really an old agreement to what you thought you could do, your limits. And so we're really needing to end the contracts within us as to what we said our limits were, and realize that you can make new choices, but new choices will be a little awkward because new is new and you've never experienced new before, but you can make the shift. And yes, the times are feeling very weird right now. It's very intense. There's another solar eclipse happening in a few days on the new moon. And really, new moon equals new beginnings. And so this is the moment for you to just cut the crap out and do a radical liquidation sale of where you have agreed to play small in your life, where you have agreed to play painfully in your life, where you have agreed to be connected to people who disrespect you, where you have agreed to be connected to people who don't give you the time of day. You are worth the time of day. You are worth interacting with. You are magic. You are fortune. You are source. And let's find each other. That's why this is why I do this, so we can find each other and have each other's backs. And if you want to go deeper, again, I created the private Facebook group called the Shift Crew. The link to that is in the bio on Instagram, and the link to that on YouTube is, under the video. And look, if you want to go deeper, where I'm talking about technique, then that's where you can go and hang out, and we can talk about, okay, how do we get through weird right now? And what is the technique in shamanic meditation to really cut some energies and move some energies so that we're creating flow and abundance in our life. And we're coming into that space of like ultimate responsibility as a creator and ultimate responsibility as a manifester. We've got to get in the driver's seat hardcore right now and be like, I am 1,000% responsible for everything in my life. You are 1,000% responsible for everything that happens in your life right now. And when we take that level of accountability on board, then there is no mistaking what's happening on the outside of us in regards to what we're choosing on the inside of us. And so we take responsibility for sometimes on the outside saying, no, go away. I'm cutting you out, because we're making that commitment on the inside to be like, no, I'm cutting that out too. That agrees that I have crappy people in my life who don't really participate with me in my highest good. Or the career you're choosing is not serving you in your highest good, or your health habits aren't serving you in your highest good. Whatever it is, you know where you need to make the shift. And it's time to be like, there's certain, I don't know if it's a hashtag. It might be a hashtag. I think it's called like still my fault or my fault. This is, again, taking responsibility. Like anything that happens to you, taking the responsibility of why it's happening. Now, of course, that can be taken to a perverse extreme where you're then causing suffering unnecessarily. But, look, we want to get into responsibility here. And look, if manifestation works and if you're a creator, then you have a responsibility for what's getting manifested and what's getting created. So you gotta be like, oh shit, I've been agreeing to some crap that I keep experiencing. And if I want the next highest level and if I want new, then I got to get hardcore. I got to get hardcore with myself and feel where those agreements are still existing in the body. This is why we do the shamanic meditation. Where are those agreements still in your mind and in your body? And to cancel clear them. Cancel clear. Like, I don't even need to work out why I chose it in the first place. It's out the door. And again, we can be very accurate about this because the muscles of the body react to the thoughts that you think most. And so you can have energetic body cleansing go on when you let go of the tension and you let go of the thought that creates the tension. There's a marriage there between thought and body. And, so we could start with, okay, let me think about the things that don't serve me anymore. Let me go into them. Let me go into the negative space. That's where we do need to start sometimes in the muck, right? So go to that negative space first and feel it and be like, there you are. We've got to locate it. We can't deny it. Like, this is not about denial when we cut these things out hard. But if you want to start with where you're at, we go into the feeling of like, let me concentrate on that bad relationship for a minute. There it is. And this is what my body feels like. And this is the compromises that I'm making. And here's the reason why I'm committed to those compromises. So I'm going to cut out the compromise and I'm going to cut out the agreement that allowed those compromises to exist in the first place. You see how that's how deep we've got to go. There's not only the compromise, there's the history and the personality that agreed to the compromise in the first place. So it's both levels. And this is the work we do when we do the self-inquiry and the shamanic cutting out of things in the deep space and silence that you get when you go deep into the breath and that meditation practice. On YouTube, hey, I'm going to wrap this up now, but look, I love that everyone's here. I'm so glad that we're accepting that these are intense times and to be both powerful in our intent to change and also, nice with ourselves. If you on YouTube, you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps other people find the video. And if you love this video, please hit subscribe and the notifications bell to be, let you know of when we go live, which is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And of course, all the audios from these jam sessions that we're having are taken and cleaned up and put on the podcast, which you can listen to on Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. And that's, of course, you can find all the links to that in my bio underneath this video or at theobsidianblade.com/subscribe. And I am going to end it there and say thank you so much for being with me again. I hope to see you in the private Facebook group if you want to go deeper. And get ready for this new moon to really move forward on your path with a heart. And I love you so much, and I'll chat with you all on Friday. See you then.